And also, we know that the long-term outcome, children who go through gender affirming care don't do better in the long term. We believe that some of the interpretation of the MRI data that I'm going to share here in a moment is just biased and incomplete. So let's do a little bit of that. So here's Scientific American. So in 2013, there was an article published by the University of Barcelona, a very small sample size, about 20 transgender men, 20 transgender women, and they used MRI data to show that the transgender brain is actually unique, not the same, okay, not like their cisgender, their biological sex at birth, but also not entirely like the desired gender, but more moving in the direction of the desired gender. But there was no conversation, this is 10 years ago now, of possible differences in cause and effect. This research has been going on heavily really since that time, even a little bit before. In 2014, the Netherlands Institute for Neuroscience put out an fMRI study, also using pretty small sample size of 40 transgender young men and transgender young women. They were given an inhaled pheromone, androstenedione, and those who were prepubescent, so younger before having gone through puberty, did not have any difference in their response to the pheromone, but the adolescents, so the ones who had already been going through puberty, did respond in ways that you can detect in the structures of the brain that become more activated. The adolescents through puberty who were transgender responded more like those of their desired gender. So the researchers make a claim, well, this is, really definitive because you can't fake the brain response. And that's true, but we have to understand a couple limitations of the study. They did not separate out homosexual individuals from the study. And also, we believe that there are psychological and social factors in the cultural conditioning that could be playing a role here in changing the structure of the brain. And that's what we see causing the responses. So again, it's a cause and effect type of argument. In 2018, Julie Backer put out a study, and this was presented at the European Society of Endocrinology, their yearly meeting. So there was a premise here. The assumption was that fetuses that were exposed to sex steroids in utero, okay, in the perinatal period, were more likely to experience gender dysphoria. And we can also detect the transgender brain in kids way earlier, and that allows us to more adequately block puberty and initiate hormone therapy and all of the gender affirming care, which will lead to better outcomes. So both of those premises are false. So we've already determined that the likelihood of a infant or a fetus, I should say, being exposed in utero to abnormal levels of sex steroids or supplemental sex steroids or different sex steroids is just extremely low. So that premise has been somewhat disproven. And also, we know that the long-term outcome, children who go through gender affirming care don't do better in the long term. So the assumptions or the premises that are involved here are inaccurate. But nevertheless, they performed an MRI study taking a look at the brain volumes of adolescent transgender boys and transgender girls. And in the trans boys, what's interesting is that they were shown to have a lower volume in the frontal and central cortex of the brain. Those are the areas involved in emotion of self, how you feel about yourself, and the self-awareness of the individual. Those areas were different. And in trans girls, the trans girls had a lower brain volume in the cerebellum and in the hypothalamus. And in girls with gender dysphoria, They had different uh, visual spatial networks, again, involved in body perception and self identification. So those are the results, and I don't question the results, but the concern again is for cause and effect. Remember that we're taking a snapshot of the brain structure in time without being able to assess all of the factors that may have played a role in causing that transgender brain to be different structurally. But the regions that are structurally different, we would expect to be different because of some of the body image dysregulation that is involved in the trans community.